The internet is home to many obscure things, many of which are videos, video games, and images. One of these obscure internet mysteries I'm going to shed some light on is the forgotten game of Drowned God, Conspiracy of the Ages. A game that propounds the theory that the concept of human history that we know is all a fabrication, and the human race's development was aided by extraterrestrial beings. The game is based off a forged manuscript written by a man named Harry Horse in 1983. Mr. Harry Horse claims that the manuscript was written by 19th century poet Richard Henry Horne, who just so happens to share Harry Horse's name. After an unsuccessful attempt to sell the manuscripts, they were shelved until the mid-1990s. After an inspiration of the PC games Myst and Seventh Guest, he came to a conclusion that a first-person PC adventure game would be a preeminent way of telling the story. A brief summary of the manuscripts is as follows. Aliens from the Orion constellation came and planted the seed of humanity on the planet that we know as Earth thousands of years ago, and have since aided our development. The manuscripts also mention a highly advanced alien civilization that had been wiped out during a global catastrophic event known as the Great Flood. It also notes that the destruction of the Library of Alexandria caused by the Knights Templar was a purposeful motive to destroy forbidden knowledge. Coincidentally, there were luminaries that managed to preserve some of this information, two of which being Leonardo da Vinci and Isaac Newton, and that the Philadelphia experiment where the USS Eldridge was claimed to have been invisible and teleported to New York in 1943 created a gateway to another dimension, and that all alien encounters afterwards derive from that event. The gameplay itself is very straightforward, a first-person adventure. In order to move throughout the world, the player clicks on different interactables on the screen. The game's plot has the player travel to 4 eras of time, the first of which is based in the Arthurian legend, the second based in the Aztec Empire, and the third is most likely Great Britain during the Industrial Revolution, and the final taking place in modern time at Area 51. Your mission? To retrieve 4 lost ancient artifacts: the Rod of Osiris, the Ark of the Covenant, the Philosopher's Stone, and the Holy Grail. According to lore, these 4 relics contain more power and purpose than we know. The core gameplay consists of very strange and complex puzzles that are mandatory to complete in order to continue on to the next objective. 2 notable puzzles being the Cup game with the Templar Knight and the Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein puzzle, where the two argue about God and quantum theory in a jumbled conversation, and the player has to chronologically order the conversation by using a dial and entering through a door with the word yesterday labeled on it.
A mechanism, a highly evolved organism, a figment of God's imagination. And did God also imagine quantum mechanics? Quantum theory, bah! God does not play dice with the universe.
Alongside puzzle completion, the player can also find tarot cards that uncover hidden areas and give extra insight on the hidden truth of the world. "11 years after the game's release, Richard Horne, aka Harry Horse, and his wife had been going through very tough times. His wife had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, in which the body eats away at the protective nerve coatings, resulting in muscle spasms, numbness, and weakness in the arms and legs. His close friends and family were aware of the tough situation they had been dealing with, and on one Wednesday morning, a friend had decided to check up on Mr. Horn, and while walking into their home, he was shocked to find a very disturbing scene. Mr. Horn was discovered holding his dead wife, whom he had stabbed up to 30 times before killing both their pets, and ultimately leading to a suicide. As for the game, it has since fallen to obscurity, with very few knowing of its existence. If you have questioned what could have drove Mr. Horn to the mental state that he was in to kill his family, could he no longer bear the sight of his terminally ill wife, or could it have been something more extraordinary? The game is posted on Abandonware and can be downloaded from the link in the description. Have a nice night.
Trust too deeply, and you know the wickedness in men's hearts. As above, so below. As above, so below. This is the secret of the drowned.